Well, last week here on Big Board Sports, we had Rex Ryan fired. We threw out a poll question. Should Rex Ryan be fired before the end of the season?
75% said yes.
And then Sunday, what do? They beat Arizona at home 33-18, and now he's the greatest coach of all time. I don't know, somewhere in between all of that. Tim Graham, I'm sure, can shed some light on what's going on in Buffalo with the Bills, and he writes for the Buffalo News, and nobody covers the Bills better than Tim Graham, or gets more inside info on the Bills and breaks more stories in Buffalo with the Bills than Tim Graham, and he joins us here on Big Board Sports. Good morning, Tim. Roger Weiland in Albany on ESPN Radio. How are you?
Thanks for having me on. It's a long time coming.
Yeah, I know, Tim. I'm glad you're doing all right, man. We saw some of the pictures. You all right?
Pictures that I did send a picture.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
All right.
Yeah, I felt like I needed to send some proof because for those listening, wondering what we're talking about, I had some back issues and went out to lunch one day with one of my bosses and ended up flat on my back, passed out on the diner floor. That's like the type of thing when you miss an appointment or missed our designated time for me to come on the show. I thought, this is going to sound like I'm making it up. So I had to send
I love it. I may tweet that out, Tim.
Yeah, Tim, when I saw those pictures, Tim, I knew you weren't making it up when I saw those pictures. What were those pictures, Akron?
It was a shirtless selfie of Tim Graham. That may go viral in Western New York.
Oh, dear.
Oh, man, Tim, I'm glad you're doing well health-wise. What do you make of the Bills right now? I mean, again, everyone was ripping Rex Ryan, and then all of a sudden, Sunday they go in and put it together against Arizona. Not sure good how Arizona's going to be this year. They are now 1-2. But what'd you make of the Buffalo Bills win, and what does it mean moving forward?
Well, it looked certainly as though it's a team that's coming up for air, and it was crisis mode. It was all bets are off mode, regardless of any belief heading into the season from ownership that this is going to be Rex's team and we're absolutely going with continuity. Things had gone off the rails to a degree that I just got a sense that it's not the team is not going to follow its word just because it said, well, we're going to stick with Rex for a number of years. It was getting pretty airy around one Bills drive, and they fired Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator. We find out after the game that Rex Ryan had dropped his defensive play calling duties and given them to the defensive coordinator, Dennis Thurman. And people listening may say, well, isn't the defensive coordinator supposed to call the plays? Well, there are teams that have coordinators in name only, and there are several of them around the league because the head coach calls whether it be the offensive plays or the defensive plays. And so Dennis Thurman, Rex Ryan, essentially divesting himself from this team in a way and saying, all right, Dennis, go ahead and call the defense. And the defense played phenomenally. So on the surface, you can see the Bills scoring 33 points, beating an NFC Super Bowl contender, at least a preseason pick to be a contender for the Super Bowl. And in a time when things were delicate, and think, wow, great job by Rex Ryan. But you take another deeper cut and say he did less in some regards for this victory than he had in other games. He's kind of stepping back and, at least by his word, taking a little bit more of a managerial role than a hands-on coaching role. So it's a weird spot. And now we have a couple of games coming up that you can look at askew if the Bills do win the game. You don't know who the quarterback's going to be at New England this week. Let's say they get Julian Edelman just for the sake of entertainment. And the Bills were able to win that game. Okay, well, that's like, but it wasn't Brady. It wasn't Garoppolo. It wasn't even Brissett, maybe. And then a week after that, they go to Los Angeles, which is a team that's obviously proven to be quite beatable. So you could be looking at a team that it looks like it's coming up off the canvas and looking like it's got a fighting chance, but we still may not know 2 weeks from now if these Bills, where they are really, unless they lose.
Yeah, Tim, the other thing I do think, and we had Gary Myers on earlier in our show from New York Daily News talking about Buffalo, and he said on our show that he thought the win over Arizona at least showed you that the players are still bought into Rex, will play hard for Rex. the players on this team have Rex Ryan's back. Do you agree with that?
That's a great question, and I don't know the answer to that yet. And I think that's where these next couple of games will really teach us a lot. And that's kind of what I was getting at with my previous answer. I think that any team can come up for air, whether you're looking at a hockey team that's down 2-0 in a playoff series, or a basketball team, and you know that they just don't have it, but they do just show up some days. I think we may have seen that. But I'd like to see a little bit more. These guys have pride. They have personal pride. They are, human beings on one level. They're athletes on a deeper level, and they're getting paid well at home. They're hearing it at the grocery store, at the gas station, all over the place that they suck. Why do they hear it on the radio shows. They listen. They read the stories. Fans wondering why they keep spending money on these guys, and the commitment and breaking my heart and all that stuff. And they come out and they fight, but can they sustain? And that's really what we're going to learn about this team.
Tim, Zach By hanging out here with Roger in studio. I have to ask you about the news and the rumblings coming out of this past week leading up to the game that the ownership, the Pegulas, met with some members of the offense without any coaches, and there was also a story that the Bills met with Tom Coughlin. What is your takeaway from all these rumblings out of Western New York?
Well, things are shifting. And the Tom Coughlin report, there were some rumblings going on there on some message boards, and it came out to get some legitimate coverage. Sal Majorana from the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle tweeted out a confirmation that the Pegulas had met with Tom Coughlin. But I've been told that they have a long-standing relationship with him, and they occasionally check in with each other. And also Tom Coughlin has a job with the NFL where he goes around to team and checks on various things. So I think a little bit too much was made out of that. Now, that being said, I think that the Pegulas are in a frame of mind where they are looking at everything. They are considering moves, whether it be anything from a coaching change to a general manager change to blowing the whole thing up. I think that they sense that there is a legitimate dissatisfaction from the fans, and I think that there was a belief from Terry Pegula in particular coming in as owner of the Bills. He's the type of guy who doesn't like to be told what to do, whether it be from a local columnist or a member of the organization underneath, an associate. This is his team, and he made the money that it took to buy this team. And so and I think human beings a lot of times have this reaction. When somebody tells you have to do this, you're like, all right, well, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do what I think is best, and there's a little pushback. It was the same thing when Terry Pegula bought the Buffalo Sabres, and he insisted on keeping the head coach, Lindy Ruff, and the general manager, Darcy Regier, and things, spiraled way out of control because of that continuity, and a lot of mistakes were made. So some people thought, well, he's going to learn his lesson from when he bought the Sabres, and he's going to be a little bit more willing to listen now that he's owner of the Bills. And that wasn't the case, but he's slowly coming around, and I think that we're in a territory here where anything is possible, where they could hit the button that gives the mushroom cloud over at One Bills Drive if things don't turn around or show some promise.
Tim, let me ask you this question. Talent-wise, is this team good enough? I mean, do they have the talent? I mean, to me, if a coach is doing a good job, if he's got the talent to win, then he's got to win. I mean, sometimes you look at the talent and go, you know what? Just not good enough. We're just not good enough to get this done. I don't care who's coaching this team. Talent level isn't good enough. How about talent level on the both sides of the ball? Is this Buffalo Bills team good enough to make a run this season, to have a winning record, and get to the playoffs?
On offense, I think so, which is strange to say. It's a Rex Ryan team. It's supposed to be all about defense, but they regressed last year in Rex's first season. They were much better under Jim Schwartz when he was the defensive coordinator and Doug Marrone was the head coach. They were setting records, club records and for sacks, and you have to keep in mind that this is a team that has the all-time sack leader in Bruce Smith, so that's saying something, that they were just tearing up their own record book. Takeaways, all that kind of fun stuff. And then Rex Ryan comes in, and it got a lot worse. And so they try to make a concerted effort to improve the defense by taking who they thought were going to be a couple of playmakers, and Shaq Lawson and Reggie Ragland with their first 2 draft picks. So Shaq Lawson has been sidelined with shoulder surgery and will be for the coming week. And Reggie Ragland's done for the year. And Marcel Darius is suspended for the first 4 games of the season. And so on paper, the defense looks pretty raggedy. Can they cobble something together? Yeah, I think that's possible. But I think that the offense and they're still not using some of their weapons. Sammy Watkins didn't play on Sunday, and they still won easily. Charles Clay did not touch the ball. He's a guy who was considered their prize offseason acquisition last year. They haven't figured out a way to use him at tight end. And so I think that there are some things in this offense that haven't even been unlocked yet. But that's also maybe testament to the coaching staff. You got to figure out how to do that. And here we are 3 games into the second year under Rex Ryan with Charles Clay, and they have no idea how to use him.
Tim Graham, Buffalo News. Glad you're feeling better. Always a pleasure to have you on. We got a lot of Buffalo Bills fans here in the Capital Region, and we thank you for a few minutes. We'll see what happens on Sunday.
All right. Anytime, guys, as long as I'm on my feet.
Exactly.
Thanks a lot, Tim.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it.